as you know, tonight what we do is this is a real opportunity for us to give back to the 4 charities that we've been supporting. And the first one I would like to introduce is near and dear to everyone here, as all of them are. And unfortunately, John Edwards wasn't able to make it this evening. He's the president of the CIA Officers Memorial Foundation, and he sends his regards, and I sent him a note. He had to attend to a family emergency, but I asked my dear friend and board advisor here, Mr. Joe Mascari, to take the microphone and say a few words about the foundation and some of the great things they're doing. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Chuck. Every day, agency officers serve quietly and selflessly, often at great personal risk around the world. When the unthinkable happens and a hero falls in service to our nation, their families are left to carry the weight of unimaginable loss. That is where the CIA Officers Memorial Foundation comes in, and where partnership today really matters. This year, because of your support, the organization was able to award $2.5 million in education scholarships to 78 deserving students for the 2025-2026 academic year. It's also helped 10 current students find rewarding internship opportunities in full-time positions for recent graduates, and offers financial assistance to families facing sudden hardships. On behalf of the foundation, I want to take a moment to thank Chuck and the organization for all the support they give to the foundation over the years.
So next I want to introduce another good friend of mine. When I was out traveling in some of these faraway places where it's extremely dangerous, as many of you in the room have done, and thanks, Jeff, for coming home safely to be here at the party tonight, having just come back fresh off the plane. And I had people with me that were protecting me every step of the way. So when I learned about what happened, when it happened in 2012 and came out and we became a company, I said, one of the things I want to do is to try to support the Shadow Warriors Foundation. And I'm happy to call Mark Geist here tonight, my friend, and I appreciate you being here. Mark, could you please come up? Welcome, Mark Geist.
I just want to thank every one of you. One, first off, is what you guys do, and she's going to clean the floor for us. But yeah, after I got injured in Benghazi in 2012, me and my wife realized that our contractors that work with us at the agency really don't have a lot of support. So especially the security contractors, and they're the ones putting our lives on the line every day while they're protecting everybody else. And so we decided to start Shadow Warriors Project, and our goal is to always take care of those when they're in their time of need. And you know, luckily for us, it hasn't been as busy as what it used to be with the change of things, but there's always something that's going to happen, whether it's in training, preparation, or whatever. And one of our big programs that we've started lately is my wife, it was something very dear to her heart, was for the spouses. You know, there's a lot of things out there for our veterans and for our people that are the guys that are downrange and the gals that are downrange. There's a lot of stuff for the families, but there's very little for just the spouse. And what we've seen, talking with other nonprofits throughout the years, is that there's a severe, almost an epidemic of suicide by spouses of veterans and contractors and everybody that's been serving, because they have that, the spouses, you guys are really, to me, the true heroes, because you put up with us while we're gone, not necessarily knowing exactly what we're doing, and then when we come home beaten and broken, you're the ones that are there to take care of us and put your trauma to the side. And that's the area that my wife really wanted to fulfill, and we've been doing that now for the last 3 years, and it's been a great event every year. We do 2 to 3 retreats for the spouses, and thankful to IT Availability for everything that they've done in supporting us, and all of you, because you're a part of helping those lives heal as well. So thank you so much.
So next up, we had a chance this summer, and we went down to Memphis and had a chance to go to the campus and see firsthand the research that goes on for St. Jude's. And I know everyone had a great learning opportunity during the time that we were there, and we want to welcome back Kevin O'Brien from St. Jude's, who is with us this evening to say a few words about St. Jude and how great stuff they're doing.
Well, thank you, everybody. If you were there in Memphis, just raise your hand real quick. So, great experience?
Yes.
Amazing? Okay. That's good, because we put a lot of work into that, and we wanted to make sure it was a good experience for you. So, just a couple of things, a couple of highlights. St. Jude, we're now treating more than 9,000 kids a year at the hospital in Memphis, and for every one of those kids, there's probably another 1,000 worldwide that we're impacting, because that research that we do at St. Jude, we share with everybody across the country and everybody around the world. So that's the impact that you're having, is hundreds of thousands of kids every year. And it's not just about survival rates, right? Because we've done a great job in terms of getting those survival rates up. But I'll tell you a quick story, because I always want to give you a patient story, and you all know that I'm a patient dad as well. But I'm not going to tell you about Katie tonight. I'm going to tell you about a young woman named Angela. And I met her about 3 months ago. And Angela is probably in her mid-40s, and we get into a conversation, and it turns out she had had acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Now, when St. Jude opened its doors in 1962, the survival rate for that type of cancer, which is the most common form of pediatric cancer, was 4%. It's now 94% because of what St. Jude has done. The word I want to focus on tonight are really 2 words. One, family. So because you've now come to our home at St. Jude, I consider you all family, and I kind of consider Chuck family and all family for years now. But you're all part of our family, and so we wanted to show you the best and the brightest of what we can do. But the other word I want to focus on is courage. So this young woman, Angela, was 5 years old when she was diagnosed. So it was in the mid-'80s, and at that point the treatment plan for ALL was radiation and chemotherapy. And at the time, we had just brought in a new medical director that was taking care of the leukemia kids. And the hope was that we could remove that radiation piece from the treatment plan. Because the radiation, while it was getting the kids to a cure, the side effects downstream, short-term and long-term, were just awful. And so Angela was the first patient that was in the new protocol, which removed radiation from it and was just chemotherapy. And I want you to think for a minute, especially your parents in the room, think about the courage of those parents. They sit down with the doctor, and the doctor says, look, we're going to take care of your daughter, and we can either do it with radiation and chemotherapy, but here's some of the long-term side effects you're going to be looking at, or we think that we can do it with just chemotherapy. While we've got at that point, 75% survival rate with the radiation and chemotherapy combined, we didn't know what the survival rate was going to look like from just chemotherapy. And those parents of that 5-year-old said, you know what, we'll take that step, and we'll be the first one to blaze that trail. And now radiation is not a part of the therapy at all, and we're at 94% with just chemotherapy. And so what I want you to focus on is not just those cure rates that we're getting, but you are providing these kids with not just survival, but a lifetime of memories and joys that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And so from the very center of my heart, thank you very much for all you continue to do for St. Jude.
Another one that we've contributed to for a number of years that we're very close to is Tunnels to Towers. And I know for Al and I, having lived in New York City, when we were there the first time they tried to hit the World Trade Center, it's kind of close to us. And I'm happy to announce tonight that Sylvie Clark is ambassador for Tunnels to Towers, and she's back to join us again this evening. And I would like to ask her to come up and say a few words about the great things that TTT is doing. Welcome, Sylvie.
Hi
everyone. So good to see all of you again, and thank you so much to Chuck and IT Availability for having me here. It's been so special to have a relationship with all of you, just being the surviving spouse of a fallen Special Activity Center operator. It's such an exclusive community. Not a lot of people really understand the CIA life. And so to be here representing Tunnel to Towers is very exciting, but I can tell you though, before I start, that it's really two of the foundations you're supporting tonight that really have changed our lives as a family after my husband Casey passed away. The CIA Memorial Officers Foundation will be helping my daughter, who will be starting college next year, with some of her tuition. So thank you, just to start and give them thanks. But just to introduce myself a little bit, I'd love to tell you a little bit about Casey and the work that he did, and also, of course, the amazing work that Tunnel to Towers does. Casey, my husband, actually served 30 years of his life to this country. From the time he was 17 until he passed at 47. He served in the Navy. He came from a very small town in Pennsylvania called Everett. And this was a town that really taught him the values of an American patriot. It was a town where they really valued service to country. They honored all the service members at the football games. They had special plaques for every service member in the town. And on Memorial Day, there was a 21-gun salute with a big parade. This was something that Casey grew up with. He was a star athlete. Head of his football team, head of the wrestling team, and ranked 8th in the state in Pennsylvania for wrestling. And so he had scholarships, but he was determined to serve his country. And so at the age of 17, he enlisted, and he became a submariner. He wanted to become a badass, so he later became an explosive ordnance disposal technician. 32 made it into the class, and only 7 graduated, including Casey. So he really had a lot of grit. I happened to meet him on an aircraft carrier over 20 years ago when he was doing MEO operations in the Persian Gulf. And after 9/11 happened, he really wanted to play a greater role in the war on terror. He wanted to be in the fight, and he believed he could make a difference. So Casey served, actually very uniquely, 57 deployments in defense of this nation. He did 7 for the CIA, 7 for the Navy, and 50 for the CIA. And as many of you know, in the Special Activity Center, they deploy you at a much higher op tempo than they do in the DoD. I think the standard in the DoD is for every day deployed, you are 3 days in your dwelling. But for the Special Activity Center, for every day deployed, you are 0.6 days in your dwelling. And that's how Casey lived for the last 15 years of his life. That's how we raised our family. And unfortunately, in late 2020, Casey deployed to Djibouti in the midst of the COVID pandemic. There he contracted a very deadly strain of malaria and COVID. And unfortunately, he did come home, but he didn't make it. So it was obviously very devastating for our family. Excuse me. But I will tell you that just 3 months later, just thinking through how we were going to get through this, how I was trying to return to work, take care of my children, Tunnel to Towers came in and said, we'd love to pay for your mortgage. And I thought, no, I got a job. I don't want to take away from anyone else. But they really encouraged me, and I got so much that them changing my mortgage transformed our lives. I would have paid for that home for 20 years, so it's a huge relief off of our back. But even more than that, we joined such an incredible family. If you understand the Tunnel to Towers community and the family that I've built there, how much they honor my husband. Every year in the race, they honor him with a banner, and even last night I was at their gala, and they put his picture up and honored him. So I just really appreciate what Tunnel to Towers does in transforming our grief. especially for the CIA survivors, because it's not something that you can really talk about. They actually gave us the moniker Gold Star Family, which is something that the CIA really can't offer in that way. That's a DoD terminology. But it really changed my grief. It really made me feel like we were the family of a hero. So that really gave it purpose. I just want to I want to tell you though a little bit about Tunnel to Towers if you don't know about them. So Tunnel to Towers was started from the family of a firefighter named Stephen Siller. Stephen was just coming off duty when the Twin Towers were attacked. He decided to turn his vehicle around to go and help, and he got stopped at the Battery Tunnel. So he strapped on 60 pounds of gear and he ran about 3 miles to the towers. He saved lives, but as the Twin Tower collapsed, we lost him as well. And his family of 7 siblings, they really believed that his life was representative of all those who lost their lives on 9/11. And they created this foundation to help the families of the fallen. They had a race that year to trace the steps of Stephen Siller. It was 1,500 people. Today, that race is the largest 5K in the United States. It has 40,000 people. They help 200 families a year of the fallen with mortgage-free homes. They provide smart homes to those who have been catastrophically injured. And this organization is so amazing. They continue to grow in so many ways. And 3 years ago, they decided that they wanted to help build tiny homes for homeless veterans. And today they have built over 17,500 homes for homeless veterans. And I can share with you that number doesn't include the 8,700 children that were also homeless with those veterans that now have homes. And as I mentioned before, they're not just homes, they're giving them communities. This is really saving their lives, saving their souls, saving their mental health. And when you go to these events and you see these wounded warriors with their families smiling from ear to ear, it is the most amazing thing to see. So I just want you to share with you a little bit about the greatness of this organization, and thank you so much for contributing.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. That really gives us a real sense of what's going on, not only with T2T, and thanks for sharing your personal life story and what's going on there.